Author's note. This video is my review of the original Matrix Trilogy, The Matrix Reloaded, and The Matrix Revolutions. Based on The Matrix by and directed by the Wachowskis. Published by Warner Brothers, Village Roadshow Pictures, Silver Pictures, MVP Entertainment, and Groucho 2 Film Partnership. All three films are available on HBO Max. Starring Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Lawrence Fishburne, Jada Pinkett Smith, Gloria Foster, Mary Alice, Colin Chow, Helma Bacchidis, and Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith. All three films are rated R.
Freeze!
Hello, Neo.
Who are you?
I am the architect.
I have mine to make, same as you have yours.
Does that include what things to tell me and what not to tell me?
Of course not.
Has it really been a long time since my last movie review? Man, this is what I get for focusing too much on Twitch gaming and all that stuff. Anyway, I promised you all a review of the first three original Matrix films that debuted in 1999 and 2003. The Matrix Reloaded, and The Matrix Revolutions. So sit back and get that red pill ready. You're finally going down the rabbit hole into Wonderland, Mr. Anderson. Oh, did I just say that? Let's move on, okay? Originally released back in 1999, The Matrix became a smash hit in the United States, generating a whopping $466 million in ticket sales. Let's see how this classic holds up in today's limelight. Computer programmer Thomas Anderson, also known as Neo, is curious about the phenomenon known as the Matrix. By accepting an offer from a man named Morpheus, Neo will discover the whole truth about the Matrix.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it.
It's been more than 20 years since I saw this film in theaters. Back then, the effects used was quite revolutionary, such as the infamous bullet time effect has been parodied many times to count. But while the film's visuals hold up to this day with some problems, they can get down to some of the most creepy and disturbing parts, especially early in the film. I'm not showing you these scenes for obvious reasons, but you can understand why this film got an R rating.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe.
But what this film is all about is more on Neo's progress from a nobody working at a top programming job to a superpower-riddled martial artist. But it's more about Neo's path to becoming that legend, the hardships he had to go through, and how Morpheus guided him down this path. Over time, as the movie went on, we begin to see Neo believe more in himself and his abilities, plus his willingness to put his comrades above his own needs. A real hero to the very end.
You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You all know who Morpheus and Trinity are. I don't really need to explain these two to you, except the fact that they are the key role in helping Neo down his path. But the one character I actually enjoyed despite her limited appearance was the Oracle, a sentient program whose powers of prediction are accurate to the core. Like Morpheus, she serves as a guide for Neo's path to believing in himself, and it's her predictions that lead our hero down that path. Thank goodness she shows up in the sequels.
As you can see, we've had our eye on you for some time now, Mr. Anderson.
And you all want to know what I think about those agent programs. They are what happens when Men in Black agents are a bunch of soulless monsters. Especially one Agent Smith. Right off the start, this guy was as creepy as hell with his monologues and his own selfish goals. He also served as the arch nemesis towards Neo, showcasing their first meeting early in the film and later on in that first fight in the subway, a clash of good and evil. On a side note, The less said about that character's cipher, the better. Treacherous sack of
Goodbye, Mr. Anderson.
My name is Neo.
Even though it's starting to show its age a bit, The Matrix still holds up well. It's a coming out for a man who would be legend and the truth that will set him free, and it's still worth a watch on HBO Max and on Blu-ray. But let's see how its two sequels hold up. So let's buckle up for round 2. In May of 2003, the Wachowskis released The Matrix Reloaded in theaters. While it wasn't as well received as the first film, it pulled in a staggering $741.8 million in ticket sales. 6 months after the events of The Matrix, the war between the machines and the humans rages on. But Neo's war with Agent Smith takes a turn for the worse when the former agent has gone rogue with the intention of taking over the Matrix.
That sounds exactly like the thinking of a machine to me.
The scope of this movie is far greater than the first Matrix film. The lore, from the history of the Matrix to the underground city of Zion, is rich in both detail and knowledge. There is even far more action in this film compared to the last, though, on the other hand, some of the scenes felt dragged out compared to the first film. Sure, it did keep me on my toes, but I wish the pace was far faster than even the first movie. Also, it's a bit of a raunchier film compared to the first, and no way I'm going to show you any of those scenes.
Why would a program be deleted?
Maybe it breaks down. Maybe a better program is created to replace it. Happens all the time.
On the one hand, this film is about Neo diving more into the Matrix to know more about the truth around him, about his own visions as the One, and his path to where he gets to meet the Architect and learn the whole truth. And like I'm going to spoil that to you. But on the other hand, I will say this about Morpheus. He goes from one who believes in a prophecy to a broken man in the time this movie takes place. In fact, take a look at the end of this film and you'll understand what happened to him.
Feels like everyone is sleeping very peacefully.
Not everyone.
Of all the new characters added, there were a few that stuck out to me. The first one is Link, the brother-in-law to the Link Tank and Dozer. While I am sad that Tank was cut out in the second film, Link does provide some humor that at least keeps the film's spirits high. The other character I enjoyed was, ironically, Counselor Harmon, who was a nice sage towards Neo and who understood what was at stake. And let's not forget the Architect, the real mastermind behind the Matrix. And no, I won't spoil anything about him, thank you very much.
Surprised to see me?
No.
Then you're aware.
Besides some scenes dragging out, my other complaint about this film was that we didn't get to see much of Agent Smith. Sure, we had the Merovingian, the twins, and the return of the agents, but every moment of Agent Smith's appearance this time felt like Hugo Weaving wanted to steal the show and give Neo a run for his cryptocurrency. He's like a fly you can't seem to swat away with his new ability to duplicate himself onto others, be it individuals or programs, even fellow agents. I'll talk more about him in the next part of this review. I think you're going to love it. For better or for worse, The Matrix Reloaded is a solid film, a step down from the original Matrix film, but it has enough lore and action to carry it all the way to the end. Still worth watching on HBO Max or Blu-ray. But enough of this. Let's cover The Matrix Revolutions and wrap this up. 6 months after the release of The Matrix Reloaded, Warner Bros. Released The Matrix Revolutions. Even in spite of being released next to two blockbusters and getting poor reviews, this third entry made profit in the form of $427.3 million in ticket sales. This film picks up where The Matrix Reloaded ended. As the war between humans and machines entered its climax, Neo is undergoing his final battle against Agent Smith. failure to defeat him will lead to the destruction of both the Matrix and the real world, with the extinction of both human and machine.
My name is Sophie. Your name is Smith. My papa says you're not supposed to be here.
The first part of the film did feel like it took a bit long and dragged out in the subway scene and the return of Merovingian. The fight scenes did help speed things up, but there was a part of me that wished it went faster. Thankfully, when Trinity finally had enough, it started to speed up a bit and the story took off even further. You know, it does make me wonder why there wasn't a Matrix live action or animated series back in those days. I'll talk about that in the conclusion to this review.
I ain't saying goodbye. I'm saying good luck.
Thank you.
Actually, taking off may be an understatement because there was more tension in this compared to the last film. This is actually true when we finally have that grand fight in Zion between man and machine. They knew how to put on an awesome battle scene that rivals some of the best in Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and not to mention predates the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was on the edge of my seat with these fights, worried on how the fight will turn out, and that wasn't the only highlight of this film.
I didn't finish the training program.
Neither did I.
Now, on the one hand, some characters do feel different compared to the last film, and some felt a bit underused. Case in point, Morpheus, who felt even more toned down compared to the first two films, and Trinity wasn't used as much either. On the other hand, it felt like some of the more minor characters were put to good use during the battle for Zion, be it twin partners Z and Chara or the abrasive Captain Mifune, but the character that stood out was the Kid, whose character arc I enjoyed seeing to the very end. Now that, my friends, is what you call character development.
Cookies need love, like everything does.
I don't know what I liked best about Agent Smith in this film. How he dialed the creepiness factor to its maximum potential, the final fight he had with Neo, or how actor Ian Bliss was able to pull off his impersonation of Hugo Weaving's character during one part of the movie. But regardless the creepiness, the final fight, or Ian Bliss, Agent Smith was at the top of his game, and just seeing him chew the scenery was extremely satisfying. Kudos goes to Hugo Weaving and Ian Bliss as well for pulling off that performance.
Mr. Anderson, welcome back. We missed you.
Please don't hate me for this, but I enjoyed The Matrix Revolutions more than the original, and especially The Matrix Reloaded. Even if the story was weak, it felt at its most intense all the way to the very end on HBO Max or Blu-ray. And hey, if this isn't enough, don't forget about The Matrix Resurrections, which I reviewed back in February. You know, I always wonder why the Wachowskis never expanded the series beyond the 4 films, some video games, and the Animatrix, which we will cover in a future review. I wouldn't mind having a live action or an animated Matrix series, one that takes place between Revolutions and Resurrections. It really does feel like a shame that there wasn't more Matrix content beyond what we got. I really hope we do get an animated series at least. But hey, as I say in my Switch Watch videos, only time will tell what the future of The Matrix will bring. Anyway, stay tuned. I will cast my review of the Animatrix to round it out. Isn't that right, Mr. Anderson? You didn't hear that, folks. Let's cue out this right now.